The room was tense, filled with an emotional charge that threatened to spill over. "I won't let you take him away from me," Gwen shouted, her voice cracking with desperation. "Ma'am, please calm down," the man in uniform urged. Another voice interjected gently. "Could you give us a moment, please?" "Yes, sir." The man turned back to Gwen, his tone soft yet firm. "Miss Salamita." "Gwen, I don't want this to escalate to court. Please have a seat and listen. This doesn't have to become more difficult than it already is. I believe we can come to a reasonable agreement for the sake of our son." Gwen froze at the words "our son." The memories came flooding back like an unstoppable tide, dragging her to a time when life was simpler, brighter. A few years earlier, great food, amazing scenery, and hot guys. "This vacation is exactly what I needed," Carol exclaimed, practically buzzing with excitement. She turned to Gwen, nudging her. "Right, Gwen?" Gwen chuckled, looking up from her phone. "Yeah, it's perfect," she replied with a small smile. Come on, Gwen. We didn't come all the way here just for you to stay glued to your screen," Carol huffed, crossing her arms. I know. I just need a minute, okay?" Gwen replied, distracted. Carol rolled her eyes. "Gwen, did you forget why we're even here? Remember Uncle? Your dad." The mention of her father sobered Gwen instantly. She sighed. "I get it, Carol. You don't have to keep reminding me." "Well, good," Carol said, shoving 2 tickets into Gwen's hand. "Here, 2 cruise tickets. Give one to your blind date later." Gwen blinked at the tickets, frowning. "Another date? Carol, this feels excessive. And it's expensive. It's the least I can do. You're always putting others first, especially your dad. You deserve a little happiness for yourself," Carol said with a sincere smile. Gwen hesitated before nodding. "Fine, but only because you're the one asking." "That's my girl." Carol grinned. Later that night, Gwen met her blind date. To say it didn't go well would be an understatement. Every time she tried meeting someone new, she clung to the hope that things would be different. But somehow, she always ended up asking herself the same question. Do I need to change who I am? "Stop overthinking it, Gwen," Carol chirped the next day. "You've still got time to blossom." "I don't know about that," Gwen muttered. "You know what? I'm not letting you go home empty-handed," Carol declared. "But I already bought souvenirs," Gwen trailed off. "Not those." Carol groaned. "I mean something that'll actually make you happy, like finding the one." Gwen shook her head. "Carol, do you really think I can do this?" Carol softened, placing a hand on Gwen's shoulder. "Of course. Sometimes you just need a little push." That night, Gwen reluctantly let Carol dress her up for the cruise club. Feeling out of her element, she fidgeted as Carol hyped her up. "Every guy here is going to be looking at you," Carol teased. "You're exaggerating," Gwen mumbled, but Carol was already pulling her into the crowded club. The music was loud, and the crowd buzzed with energy. Gwen sat at the bar, sipping her drink nervously while Carol mingled effortlessly with strangers. "Why is it so hard for me to fit in?" Gwen wondered to herself, glancing around. Her eyes landed on a man across the room, effortlessly charming the people around him. Nights like these must be an everyday thing for someone like him, she thought wistfully. But then, he caught her staring. Before she could look away, he approached her, his confidence unnerving. "Hey," he said casually. Gwen blinked, startled. "I saw you looking at me." "Why were you staring?" he asked bluntly. Gwen's cheeks flushed. I was just," she fumbled for words. He tilted his head, amused. "Relax. I'm not upset. But I'm curious." Gwen took a deep breath. "Honestly, I'm not used to places like this. I guess I was just trying to figure out how you make it look so easy." His expression softened. "It's not as easy as it looks." Before Gwen could respond, Carol returned with more drinks.
"Gwen."
"Who's this?" she asked, eyeing the stranger with interest. Gwen stammered, glancing back at him, unsure of what to say. The night suddenly felt like it had taken an unexpected turn, and Gwen couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something far more complicated than she had anticipated. Gwen hesitated but managed to stammer out a question. Is the food good here? The man across from her smirked, his casual demeanor catching her off guard. Looking for a good time, are we? I think I can help you with that. Startled by his boldness, she froze. Huh? He chuckled. Coincidentally, I'm looking to kill some time, too. My so-called friend ditched me for some women, he said, gesturing vaguely. Besides, trying to connect with strangers can be such a hassle. For a moment, Gwen nodded in agreement, but then realization struck her. Wait a second. Aren't we strangers, too? He shrugged, his smile unfaltering. That's true, but for some reason, I don't dislike you. Leaning slightly toward her, he added, So, how about it? Want to join me tonight? Gwen blinked, unsure of how to respond. His charm unsettled her, but something about him seemed genuine. Why would you drag a stranger like me along? Why should I trust you? He laughed lightly, but his expression shifted briefly into something more solemn. Good question. Let's just say I wanted to save face. The sadness in his smile didn't escape her notice. Before she could ask more, he changed the subject. Hungry? How about dinners? Her stomach growled, answering for her. Embarrassed, she nodded reluctantly. Let me inform my friend first. That's fine by me, he replied, waiting patiently. As Gwen texted Carol about her plans, she couldn't help but wonder how to explain the situation, a handsome yet strange man inviting her to dinner. Before she could overthink it, he teased her. Did your friend just send a kissing emoji? Hey, she protested, snatching her phone away. Don't look. He chuckled at her reaction. Come on, let's go. I know a great spot where we can see the stars while we eat. The dining area he led her to was stunning, the perfect mix of elegance and serenity. Sorry if you expected something more, he said. Are you kidding? This is amazing, Gwen exclaimed, already enjoying herself. After they ate, he asked, Do you want to watch the fireworks with me? Yeah, Gwen agreed, surprising herself with how easily she trusted him. If it's with you, I'd gladly join. He raised an eyebrow. Don't you think you're too trusting? Blushing, she muttered. You're probably right, but deep down, she felt at ease around him. As the night unfolded, Gwen noticed something about him. Behind his warm smile, there was a lingering sadness. When she asked about it, he finally admitted, I was supposed to propose to my girlfriend tonight. That's why I'm here. But as you can guess, she didn't show up. I see, Gwen murmured, unsure how to comfort him. For what it's worth, I think she's lucky to have someone who cared enough to plan something like this. He smiled faintly. Thanks for saying that. And thank you for going along with everything tonight. It helped a little. As he prepared to leave, Gwen found herself blurting, Wait. I don't know her reasons for not showing up, but I had fun tonight. And I think you're a good person. Her sudden outburst made her self-conscious. Oh no. Did I sound weird just now? He smirked, leaning closer. What makes you so sure I'm a good person? I don't know, she stammered. For some reason, I just don't dislike you. That's my line, he teased. Well, I'm not stealing it, she retorted, flustered. And I don't want to leave you feeling miserable, that's all. Is that really the only reason? He asked, amused. Of course it is, she snapped, but there was no heat in her words. Relax, I'm just teasing, he said with a laugh. Extending his hand, he added, By the way, I'm Arthur. What's your name? For a moment, she hesitated before replying. I'm Gwen. It's nice to meet you. As she reflected on that fateful night, Gwen would later realize that being so agreeable had been a mistake. That sweet and fleeting connection would soon evolve into something far more complicated, a bitter dispute she never saw coming. Arthur's phone buzzed with a message from his family. Hey, Arthur. We haven't been able to get in touch with you. We're all worried about you, especially Mom. Please call. The words lingered in his mind, a reminder of everything he'd been avoiding. Memories flooded back, sharper than he expected. I'm sorry, Mr. Moranti, but your condition has worsened, the doctor's voice echoed in his head. The lab results show that you're no longer capable of conceiving a child. And then her voice followed. I'm sorry, Arthur, she had said. But with a condition like this, I'm sure you think I'm worthless too. Arthur's heart ached at the memory. He had tried to reassure her. You're a good person. Don't let anyone make you feel worthless. But it hadn't been enough. He woke with a start, shaking off the lingering weight of his dream. Was it because I saw her the other day? He muttered to himself. She's so different now. Abrasive even. A knock at the door snapped him out of his thoughts. Sir, his driver reported, we've safely arrived at the other house with the madam and your child. Arthur nodded.
Good.
Take care of them for now. I'll join you once I'm off work. Yes, sir. Arthur smiled faintly. I can't wait to meet him. Turning to Nana, his trusted assistant, he asked, Hey, Nana? What kind of surprise gifts do children usually like? Her jaw dropped. No way. Why did you agree to this so easily? Arthur chuckled. It's not like that, but his voice trailed off, leaving her unconvinced. Later that day, Arthur met Gwen, the mother of his child, at a neutral location. She sat across from him, guarded and visibly tense. Gwen, he began, his tone steady. It took me a long time to find you. Her expression hardened. What do you even know about raising a child? I bet you've had babysitters your entire life. Arthur raised his hands in a placating gesture.
Now.
I'm trying to be fair here. I don't intend to drag this into an ongoing legal case, especially since it would affect your situation. Her eyes narrowed, but she let him continue. I only want visitation rights. Give me 3 months to prove I'm capable of being a good father to Leon. You'll still have full custody, but I need this chance. Please. Gwen clenched her fists. I don't need your money, she said firmly. I understand that, Arthur replied softly. But I also know about your current situation. I'll ensure Leon receives proper childcare without disrupting your life. I really need him. His words hung in the air, and Gwen couldn't help but wonder what he truly meant by them. Later, she called Carol, her close friend, who immediately sprang into action. Don't give up so easily, Gwen. We'll find you a lawyer. Don't let him wear you down. I won't, Gwen promised. I'll show him. The doorbell rang. Gwen took a deep breath and opened the door. Good evening, Arthur greeted her with an unexpected air of enthusiasm. What are you doing? Gwen asked warily, noticing he was carrying something unusual. I wanted to surprise Leon, Arthur said with a grin. Well, you definitely surprised me, she muttered. How about you set that down and come in normally? Inside, Arthur looked around. Do you find the place to your likings? Gwen asked, her voice laced with sarcasm. I guess so, he replied, his tone distracted. I'm very excited to meet him, Arthur said suddenly, his voice softening. Where is he? Gwen led him to the next room, but as Arthur followed, the doctor's words rang in his mind again. You're no longer capable of conceiving a child. Arthur clenched his fists, determined. You're wrong, doctor, he thought. Because today, I'm going to meet my child. Arthur stepped into the room, adjusting to the unfamiliar space. Gwen glanced at him and frowned. I told you to take off the headpiece before coming in, she scolded. Arthur chuckled, finally obliging. I'll take you up on that offer, then. Can I go near him? Gwen hesitated, studying his face carefully. A familiar face, she muttered under her breath. Sure, but you seem so different from the last time we met. Arthur's gaze softened as he spotted Leon. Hello, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Gwen noticed a strange expression cross his face. What is this feeling? See, can I hold him? Arthur asked tentatively. Gwen's guard shot back up. I still don't really trust you, she admitted. I'll let you go near him, but only if I'm present the entire time. Arthur smiled faintly. Trying to negotiate, huh?
All right.
I'll agree to your terms since you agreed to mine. Gwen raised an eyebrow, unsure of his sudden compliance. I was expecting more pushback from you. Arthur took a small step forward. So, can I hold him? Gwen sighed and relented. Be extra careful, got it? Yes, ma'am, Arthur replied sincerely. As he held Leon, Gwen's thoughts raced. I won't let him take my Leon, but I won't deny him his father either. Every child deserves to feel their parents' love. She watched him carefully. But where did that arrogant man from the other day go? He seems so different today. You know, she started cautiously, you were really intimidating the last time we met. Arthur glanced at her, smirking. Says the one who threatened me. Gwen flushed slightly, but didn't deny it. Arthur's expression softened again. I apologize. I just really wanted to see him. His sincerity caught her off guard. Anyway, he continued, how have you been? Gwen shrugged, her guard still up. It's easy to act intimidating when you're scared, she muttered. Arthur tilted his head. I wasn't asking about that. I meant since the cruise. How have you been? Her eyes darted away briefly before she motioned for him to hand Leon back. See, come here, she said, taking the child into her arms. Arthur straightened up. I guess I'll come by again tomorrow, he said. I've made sure the house has everything you both need, from food to clothes. Gwen blinked, surprised. Thank you. Even though you didn't need to. Arthur gave her a faint smile. See you tomorrow, Leon, he said gently, waving at the child. As Arthur turned to leave, Gwen called out, Wait. About your promise. Don't you worry, Arthur replied, glancing back at her. I plan to honor it. If things go well. His voice trailed off meaningfully. I see, Gwen murmured. Arthur chuckled at Leon, who was tugging on his mother's hair. Don't mess up your mom's hair, all right? See you tomorrow, he said, stepping out. As the door closed, Gwen's shoulders tensed. She looked at her friend, Aless, who had been silently observing from the side. We still need to be careful, Gwen warned. I'm not sure if this nice guy persona is real or just an act. Aless nodded. Good work today, though. Gwen exhaled deeply, unsure of what to make of Arthur's sudden change. A lot had happened, and she wasn't ready to let her guard down just yet. Arthur's parents had him later in their marriage, which explained why his father was older, despite Arthur being in his mid-20s. His mother had passed away when he was young. Arthur treasured the one picture he had with her, especially since his dad had told him that she didn't like taking photos. His father often pushed him to find a boyfriend. Hurry up and get a boyfriend or something already, he'd insist. Arthur would respond, Dad, I believe those things come naturally. Deep down, Arthur understood his father's concern, but he also felt that he didn't need to rush. I just don't want you to grow old and lonely, his father would say. You always say that, Dad, Arthur would reply, brushing it off. Look, I'm fine, and I'm telling you, you're going to live a long time. But those words didn't hold true for long. When his father passed away, it hit Arthur hard. He felt the weight of having no family left. The thought of losing his dad left a hole in his heart that couldn't be filled. She can't stay with us, Arthur realized, and the reality of being alone set in. His family was gone, and the familiar dream of a life with them seemed so distant now. At least for now, Leon was the only family Arthur had left, and he swore he wouldn't let anyone take him away. Thanks, Nana. The food today was especially delicious, Arthur said, trying to keep his mood light. Nana noticed his good mood and asked, Did something good happen at work? Arthur grinned. Something far better. Gareth, who had been working late too, joked, You two are getting home late these days. What's going on? It's a secret, Arthur teased. Cheapskate, Gareth laughed. Arthur couldn't believe how much he'd missed seeing his son so happy. I can't believe it. My son is too cute, he thought, reflecting on how his life had changed since being diagnosed and losing hope of ever having a family. But then, a surprising shift had come into his life, and he'd found someone new. Yet, he couldn't help but wonder why he'd asked her that question. How have you been? Seemed so simple, but it felt like too little after all that had happened. He wanted to ask her more, but he knew it was no use to dwell on it. The sound of his phone broke his thoughts, and Percy's voice cut through the silence. Artie, it's time to wake up. Arthur was startled. Oh my. You surprised me, he said, groggily sitting up. Why can't you sleep? Percy asked, noticing his disheveled state. Why are you resting in my office of all places? Arthur asked, annoyed. For being a boss, you sure do have a lot of free time, Percy teased. Arthur glared. I don't want my office messed up. That's all. Damn it, Percy grinned. Tell me what's going on. You never just visit to lay around. Arthur sighed. It's nothing really, but Percy wasn't fooled. What's that on your desk anyway, Arthur? Arthur's face lit up in surprise. Today's the day, Percy said, excited. Arthur blinked. My birthday.
No.
I'm meeting my ex-wife. She agreed to meet me later. Arthur stared, confused. Did she knock her head or something? I kid. Do your best, all right? Percy added, trying to lighten the mood. Arthur rubbed his face, lost in thought. The biggest challenge in all this is gaining back my ex-wife's trust. Repairing a woman's trust is harder than it looks. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm doing this for our little girl too. The word trust stuck with Arthur. He had been so focused on Leon that he'd neglected his ex-wife's feelings. Hanging in there, Leon, he thought. I'll buy you some cute new clothes once I get a job again. When he returned home, he was greeted by his assistant. Welcome back, Mr. Moranti. Have you had anything to eat yet? I brought some food, his assistant asked. Arthur smiled.
Ah.
I'm good. I've already prepared our own meals. Arthur hesitated before asking. Then, is it all right if I join you for dinner? He wasn't sure what the answer would be. Gareth seemed to consider it. I guess, is that so? He asked, unsure himself. Arthur wondered if Gareth would even like what he had prepared. Would you like some? Arthur offered, though he was sure it wouldn't compare to what Gareth had brought. Yes, please, Gareth replied, accepting the offer. Arthur noticed a pause and asked, is something wrong? Gareth quickly dismissed it. Nothing. I just thought you two were adorable. Arthur couldn't help but notice the mischievous smile on Gareth's face. That smile of his again, Arthur thought. Why does he have to be shining all the time? He also noticed how Gareth complimented him, and it made him uneasy. By the way, the food tastes different from Nana's cooking, but I'm really impressed, Gareth added. Nana? Arthur asked. Gareth explained, you can say she's someone who's taken care of me since I was young. Arthur's thoughts drifted, thinking to himself, so I was right. He was raised with a silver spoon. But there was something else about the way Gareth spoke about Nana. He clearly adored her like a real mother, and it surprised Arthur. He almost couldn't believe this was the same man. Gareth apologized for his rambling. Sorry about my unnecessary ramblings. Did I say something wrong? He asked. Arthur found himself wondering aloud. I was just wondering which one is the real you. Gareth raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Arthur hesitated, then clarified. The you today. Are you the same man who met me with a lawyer? Or the one I met on the cruise ships? Why, do you want to know? Gareth asked, his tone shifting. Forget it, Arthur said, waving it off. Just then, they heard a noise, and Arthur rushed to the other room, hearing a cry. You. What's wrong? He panicked. Don't panic. We only need to change his diaper. Gareth reassured. Arthur quickly added, Don't worry, son. I got you. But then he was startled by something.
Jeez.
We're just changing his diaper. Where did you even get those? He asked, noticing the supplies. Gareth remained calm.
Relax. I know how to do this, he said.
Or not, he admitted, as he fumbled with the diaper. Let me, Arthur said, stepping in to take over. After wiping, he carefully placed the diaper, showing Gareth, see? He likes it. Arthur glanced at the clock. It's late already. I should be going. Gareth nodded. I'll have my Nana visit and assist you here. There's no need, Arthur responded, though he was unsure if Gareth was putting on an act or truly doing okay. Good night, Gareth said. Arthur couldn't help but reflect on how their time together had gone. He had expected everything to be miserable, but it wasn't as bad as he'd feared. Ah, right, Gareth added.
Here.
He handed Arthur something. I hope you can accept this. Arthur raised an eyebrow, but Gareth continued. And regarding your question earlier, I'm still that guy you met on that ship. Arthur stood still for a moment, taking it in. It might be better if he really turns out to be a bad guy, Arthur thought. But despite everything, he couldn't deny that he still wanted to know more about Gareth. Gareth finished. I know our relationship began differently than most, but I still want to know more about you. And I hope we can start fresh. This time as friends first. Because at this rate, it's hard to be angry with him. Arthur found himself unable to stay mad at him, uncertain of where this new path would lead. Arthur was taken aback when his Nana shared her surprise. "You with a child?" she exclaimed. "Have you told your mother yet?" Arthur lowered his voice, glancing around. "It's only you and Gareth who know about this so far. And you know Mom, she'll make a big fuss about it. I don't want to worry Gwen, either." Nana raised an eyebrow. "Does Elaine know?" Arthur hesitated before responding.
No.
"I met Gwen after Elaine and I broke up, right after that cruise." "Just recently, huh?" Nana said, processing the new information. "Are you sure the child is yours?" Arthur nodded. "I got the test results. I'll tell my family eventually, but I need some time with them both first. I want to make up for lost time." As Arthur's mind wandered back to the past, Nana continued. "And what about Gwen? The mother? If I helped you, do you think she'll talk to me?" Arthur was silent for a moment before replying. "I'm just curious about her. I've been trying to find her ever since." Nana's voice softened. "Well, I'll see what I can do. I can only look at the lady's heart, but you'll need to do your part too. I'm counting on you, Arthur." The next day, Nana, now known to Gwen as Lydia, arrived to meet her. "Miss Salamita, it's nice to finally meet you. You can call me Nana." Gwen looked a little nervous, but greeted her warmly. "I'm Gwen. It's nice to meet you." Lydia smiled kindly. "I've cared for Arthur since he was a baby. I know how to handle children. You can trust me with Leon." Gwen, feeling a bit overwhelmed, agreed. "I've done most of the work, but I appreciate your help." Lydia's heart softened as she watched Gwen with Leon. "He's 7 months old now, right? He looks just like Arthur." She tried to comfort Leon when he cried, and it worked. "There, see? I could teach you a few tricks on how to handle these situations." Gwen smiled at the suggestion. "Yes, please. I could use some help." Lydia's advice on feeding Leon was practical and simple. Giving him the chance to pick up food from his plate helps him form good associations with food. As Gwen reflected on her new situation, she realized that Lydia was much kinder than she had imagined. When she spoke of Arthur, it was with such familiarity, calling him Artie like a close family member. "I wonder what he's up to," Gwen thought, but quickly dismissed it. "Not that I'm interested in him," she reassured herself. Her feelings were a mix of confusion and curiosity. Despite their unusual beginning, Gwen wanted to know more about Arthur, but only as friends, she told herself. Arthur, on the other hand, couldn't help but want to learn more about Gwen's past. What happened during all the time we missed, he wondered. But when he tried to dig deeper, her reactions only left him more unsure. "Sir, you called," his assistant asked, but Arthur was lost in thought. He needed to know more about her family, but Gwen seemed so closed off. Could it be because of me? Or is it something about her family's? Arthur asked himself, frustrated. Despite his growing doubts and unanswered questions, Arthur couldn't help but hope that one day, Gwen might smile again. With Nana Lydia's help, Arthur found some peace. He was able to focus on other tasks while she took care of Leon, and it wasn't as bad as he'd first feared. Maybe having her around wasn't such a bad idea after all. Arthur's Nana, still shocked, couldn't believe what she was hearing. "So, you two are stuck here all day, every day?" she asked. What was Artie thinking? Gwen reassured her. "It's not a problem. It's only for a few months. I'll honor Mr. Morani's request to be a father to my son." Nana looked concerned. "What has Artie done to the poor young woman?" Gwen hesitated but then responded, "I appreciate everything you've done for me today, Nana. It may not seem like much, but it means a lot." Nana smiled warmly. "I should be thanking you, Ms. Gwen. It's been a while since I saw Artie come home with a smile on his face. I may not know everything about what happened between you two, but I want you to know that Artie is really a kind person. If possible, please give him a chance." Gwen paused for a moment, reflecting. "I hadn't seen my mom in a long time, but I guess this must be what it would feel like if I had." Nana nodded. "He likes to act cool, but he's actually very clumsy." As Arthur returned home, he greeted them both with a smile. "What's this? Did you say something strange about me, Nana?" "Of course not," she replied, teasing him. "Clumsy?" Arthur grinned. "Isn't Nana the best?" "Yes," Gwen agreed. "I learned a lot today." Arthur then surprised them both. I have the day off tomorrow. Is there somewhere you'd like to go? Gwen looked hesitant. I'm not a fan of crowds. Maybe we could go for a small picnic in the nearby foothills. I'm too tired for that kind of thing, she admitted. Arthur's expression softened. Understood. How about this? I stay here for the night. Gwen raised an eyebrow. With Nana here, too? Arthur nodded. I want to spend time with Leon and with you.
Gwen was caught off guard.
Last night, you told me to focus on our son, but is there a way I can focus on both of you? She felt conflicted. Understand me, she thought, unsure of whether she could truly trust Arthur again. I used to believe he was a kind person, she mused, her doubts creeping in. Can I really believe that again? As Leon peacefully slept, Gwen glanced at Arthur. It's time to go, isn't it? After a pause, Gwen sighed, resigned to the situation. Fine, I'll let you stay for the night, but only if you agree to one condition. I'll tell you after. Arthur eagerly agreed.
Deal.
As long as it doesn't change anything about our agreement. Gwen couldn't help but wonder. What's going on here? Arthur was eager to know what Nana had discovered. Have you found anything about her? He asked. Nana sighed, shaking her head. Unfortunately, Miss Gwen isn't the talkative type. Arthur nodded, understanding. She must be cautious around you as well, since I'm the one who sent you to check on her. He then asked, what do you think about this arrangement? Why not let them stay at your house, instead of keeping them hidden away in another one of your properties like criminals? Nana responded with concern. I can't let my mother and sisters see them yet. My mistake made her life miserable, and that's why I'm doing all this. I want to make it up to her and to our son. Arthur's guilt weighed heavily on him. So, you're doing this out of guilt? Nana gave a knowing look. Yes, that's what you're feeling right now. But I have a feeling that Miss Gwen might be the person you've been looking for. She has the qualities of a good wife. Arthur hesitated. Nana, she urged him. Please, think carefully about what I suggested. Leaving them alone like this might be dangerous. I'll go inform her that I can't stay tonight. I've also prepared everything you need here. Arthur glanced at the preparations. Good boy, he muttered, hopeful that things would improve. He will come to his senses eventually. It's strange for him to care about someone like this. Nana turned to Gwen. Miss Gwen, please forgive me. I won't be able to stay with you tonight. I need to go home to look after my grandchildren. Gwen appeared concerned. But if that's the case, Nana smiled kindly. Young miss, please let Artie have his chance to make it up to you. As I've said, he's a kind person. You can trust me on that. I'll make sure to come first thing in the morning. I've also prepared the necessary things for little Leon. Gwen nodded. Yes, but that's not what worries me. Nana looked at her with understanding. I understand. You're worried about being alone together. Gwen's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of little Leon crying. What's wrong? She wondered. Arthur, noticing her concern, reassured her. Sorry for the noise. It's really no big deal. Gwen hesitated. Is he hungry or does he need a diaper change? Arthur answered. He's already had his milk and his diaper's been changed. But little Leon's crying only intensified. This kind of thing happened every now and then, so Arthur reassured Gwen, don't worry, it's fine. Gwen, however, was too tired to keep up with the situation. I'm too tired to do those sorts of things, she muttered. Arthur then tried to entertain Leon. Look, Leon. I'm Sir Giraffe. I have a long neck, and I'm yellow. I can hop, hop, hop. I love to run, run, run. He continued to play with Leon until the crying stopped. Phew, looks like he finally stopped. He offered to help Gwen rest. How about I look after Leon so you can rest? Gwen declined. You don't really think I'm going to let you take him while I sleep, do you? Arthur smiled gently. Yep, she does, he said, realizing how much Gwen had been carrying on her own. I was just thinking that going through all this every day must take a toll on you. I was hoping to help you relax him, but I apologize if I overstepped. I can keep him where I can see him. Gwen finally agreed, giving in slightly. Arthur chuckled and agreed to her terms. Ma'am. I always end up agreeing to whatever he demands. Pathetic. He continued, trying to keep Leon entertained. Listen, Leon, we need to be quiet so Mama can sleep, all right? As Gwen came back into the room, Arthur quickly whispered, "Act natural," and handed her something to help her relax. "Here, use these so you can relax while I watch Leon." Gwen, still hesitant, took the items.
I really don't need all this, she replied.
Arthur grinned. "Come on. You're very light. You should eat more." Leon's voice interrupted. "Wah," making Gwen smile despite herself. Arthur gently teased, "I have to agree with Leon. You have a funny face right now." Gwen laughed lightly but then warned, "Put me down or else." Arthur laughed and carefully set her back down. "There you go. Don't you ever do that again." He added, "Rest well. Call me if you need anything." He paused and then said, "Also, I'm glad you're still the same, Gwen." Gwen furrowed her brow. "Same?" Arthur looked away. "Let's not do something we'll regret again." Gwen's eyes flickered with a familiar feeling, one that neither of them wanted to revisit. "Bah, it's making me remember things I don't want to," she whispered. Arthur's name hung in the air, but neither of them dared to speak further. Naya called out as she playfully posed with Leon. "Who is it?" "Olu." Leon replied with excitement, mimicking Naya's enthusiasm. "Correct. That's you." Naya laughed, then added, "Here, Leon, let's try another pose." Leon, confused, asked, "Goo?" Naya made an exaggerated sound of surprise. "Hey, what kind of pose is that?" She quickly apologized. Oops, I hope I didn't wake her," as she glanced toward Gwen. "Sweet dreams, Gwen." Naya took a quiet moment to reflect. "That's the first time I've had a decent sleep in a long time," but then she noticed. "Wait, where are they?" Realization hit her. "Don't tell me." A voice interrupted. "Good morning." Naya turned, startled. "Were you able to get some sleep?" Gwen replied. "Were you?" Naya winced. "He's up at every hour." Gwen sighed. "I'll take it from here." "Thanks." Naya couldn't believe it. Did he really stay up all night to look after Leon, just so I could get some rest? But as if on cue, Leon suddenly caused a little chaos. "Leon, don't suddenly." Arthur approached, his tiredness evident. "Hey, did I do well?" Naya responded dryly, "Barely." Arthur nodded, tired but smiling. "I see. Good night." Leon babbled, "Goo," as Arthur chuckled. Naya then whispered, "It's you, Leon." Arthur, still half asleep, groaned, "Aye. Let me sleep a few more minutes." A voice then rang out, "Wait, what?" "Good morning, or should I say afternoon?" Arthur looked at Naya in disbelief. "Nana, why didn't you wake me up? I should be spending my precious day off with Leon, and here I am." Naya noticed Arthur's exhaustion. "He doesn't seem good. He did stay up until morning after all. Maybe you should go outside for a change later." "I'll take care of things here," Naya suggested. Arthur brightened at the idea. "Nice going, Nana." Then he looked at Gwen. "That's right. How about we go outside for a little while later?" Gwen sighed, feeling conflicted. "Can't go." What a complicated situation. She hesitated, knowing if she said yes, it would seem like she was taking advantage of Arthur. "I know what you're thinking." Arthur, sensing her concern, reassured her. "He does? I'm not going to use any of this against you in any way." He smiled softly. "I just want you and Leon to join me on my day off. Just for today, then." Gwen's phone buzzed, interrupting the moment. "Sorry, girlie. Work's busy these days." Naya saw the message. "Ah, it's Carol." She read it aloud. "How are you and our cute Leon?" Gwen quickly replied, "Hey, no worries. You should focus more on your work. I can handle this." Carol's response came soon after. "No way. I'll always help you." Crying face. "I found us a lawyer. Let's meet him on my day off." Gwen nodded to herself, relieved. "Ah, that's right." Gwen reflected on her feelings, troubled. We're supposed to be enemies, right? But as she watched Arthur's recent efforts, it stirred something in her heart. "What am I doing, really?" Naya's voice broke her thoughts. "Miss Gwen? Little Leon is ready. Arthur as well.
Leave the house to me.
I'll take care of everything before I leave." Gwen smiled at the sight of her baby. My baby. But then, she noticed something felt off. Is something wrong? What's taking them so long? Her head started to ache. My head hurts a bit. Finally, Arthur entered, apologizing. Sorry for the wait. Let's go. Gwen handed him the stroller. Let me carry that. Arthur insisted. No, it's all right. I insist. Then he asked, did you want to go anywhere? Gwen hesitated.
No.
Plus, I'm not really familiar with the neighborhood. How about going to a zoo? Leon seems to like animals. I can drive there, Arthur suggested. Gwen's eyes widened. I don't have a car seat for him to travel in. Arthur quickly reassured her.
Right. I didn't mean anything by that.
Okay. Gwen nodded, silently understanding that Arthur was concerned about spending money on them. She couldn't help but notice how little they had. The stroller, in particular, looked worn out, a reminder of their struggles. Arthur noticed her concern and offered. Then, how about? He pointed toward the nearby market. Good thing the market's nearby. Any stuff you need? On me. Gwen quickly responded. And no, we're okay. I told you earlier, right? I won't use these things against you. Arthur smiled, but his tone softened. If anything, this is nothing compared to what you might have gone through. But I'm saying you don't have to do everything alone. Let me spoil you. Gwen hesitated for a moment, then gave in. I will pay you back. Arthur nodded. All right. All right. But as she looked at him, she couldn't help but think, we're supposed to be each other's enemies. Gwen frowned, watching Leon. No way. Does he really like this? She sighed, frustrated. It's too early for him to be playing like that. Arthur noticed her frustration and offered, I'll take over. You just watch Leon and behave. Gwen couldn't help but laugh inwardly. I feel like I'm out with two sons. He's way too carefree. Is he even taking this seriously? She decided to focus on getting the task done. Anyway, let's finish this and be done with it. She picked up an item. This one. Arthur, ever helpful, responded, call me if you need help. After all, you're a tiny person. Need help with anything else? Anything you want to buy? Gwen replied, and nothing in particular. We don't need to buy much anyway. We still need to be able to carry it all. Arthur raised an eyebrow. I'm amazed that you're thinking about these things. Gwen shot back. It's called common sense.
Geez.
As they continued, Arthur noticed Leon seemed restless. He must be hungry. Gwen agreed. Right. Arthur watched Gwen with admiration. She really is amazing. They approached the cashier. How much? Arthur asked. The clerk replied, $XX, sir. As they left the store, Arthur couldn't help but notice the women behind them. They were staring, gossiping about him and Gwen. I guess he's just bound to draw attention wherever he goes, Arthur thought, but didn't voice it. Gwen, on the other hand, wondered what other people thought of their relationship. What do they see when they look at us from afar? It had gotten late, and Arthur made sure to stay by her side as they walked home. Mind your step, Gwen reminded him. Arthur, a bit annoyed, responded, Yes, yes. I can help carry more if you want. Gwen smiled. It's all right. We're almost home. They continued walking, Leon in tow, but Gwen noticed Arthur's concern. Watch out. Is Leon all right? Arthur, a little irritated, said, He should mind the road better. You okay? Gwen asked. Arthur startled her. Stop overreacting. I'm on the safe side of the road. She rolled her eyes. You can never be too careful these days. As they walked, they were greeted by a neighbor. Good evening. You're the new family who recently moved in, right? The woman asked. Gwen smiled, awkwardly. That's right, ma'am. We hope to see you around soon. Arthur quietly remarked, Family, huh? He wondered if that's how others saw them. Later, Gwen offered, Do you need help setting anything up? Arthur shrugged.
No, I'm fine.
Aren't you going home soon? It's getting late. Gwen felt the chill of the evening air. Still cold as ever, she muttered, but smiled. Technically, this is my home too. Arthur chuckled. Just kidding. I'll leave in a bit. Why don't you go wash up? I'm sure you need it after carrying all this stuff yourself. Gwen reluctantly agreed. I'll take you up on that offer. As they entered the house, Gwen couldn't shake the thought of how they were seen by others. They called us a family. She noticed Leon was crying. "You're hungry again?" she asked. Arthur paused and smiled. "Wait here. I'll go make something for you, okay?" Gwen went to the bathroom, but heard Leon's cries again. "Something wrong?" Arthur asked when he found her. Gwen quickly apologized. "Sorry, I forgot to take a change of clothes with me to the washroom." "Don't mind me." Arthur, surprised, knocked. "Learn how to knock." Gwen awkwardly asked, "Please, just go ahead and get dressed already." Arthur smirked. But you've seen this all before." Gwen shook her head, trying to ignore his teasing. "He's eating a lot, isn't he? You need to eat more too." Arthur, with a slight grin, commented, "I've said it before, but you're way too light." Gwen rolled her eyes. Yeah. Arthur turned serious. "Tomorrow, I've got an important meeting with a client. What about you? Any plans?" Gwen hesitated before answering. "I have plans to meet my best friend." Arthur raised an eyebrow. "Your best friend? You mean the one you were with on the cruise ship? When can I meet hers?" "Never," Gwen snapped, her tone firm. "And if you could please refrain from mentioning that cruise again." Arthur chuckled. "Got it." Gwen sighed, her expression softening as she recalled the past. I was really lost and depressed back then." Arthur looked at her, puzzled. "What do you mean?" Gwen continued. "I thought that instead of wasting the tickets, I'd just bring my friend along. Then he told me something really cheesy. He said I should try finding my special someone on that ship. I had just been dumped, so at first I thought it was an absurd idea. But then I saw you. You were trying your best to talk to new people, even though I could tell you were uncomfortable." Arthur, genuinely curious, asked, "I'm curious. Why are you trying so hard to understand me? Is it because of Leon's?" "No," Gwen answered. "Don't you hate me?" Arthur shook his head.
No.
"Even though I left you as a one-night stand." Gwen's eyes softened.
No.
"I'm sure you have your reasons. And that's exactly what I want to understand. Make me understand." Arthur thought for a moment. "I thought we clicked. I looked for you everywhere, you know." Gwen was taken aback. "Really?" Arthur nodded. "It's Gareth. My ride's here already." Gwen, feeling conflicted, said, "Are you saying goodbye?" Arthur smiled. "I'll visit again soon." Gwen quickly composed herself. "What am I doing? I need to keep it together." Arthur turned to leave. "I'll be going then. About that thing earlier. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to see and visit Leon. I'll see you too soon." As he walked away, Gwen steeled herself. "I can't back down now just because he's trying to be a little nice." Gwen pulled out her phone and called Carol. "Hello, Carol. Sorry for calling so late. Let's meet up at the law firm you mentioned tomorrow. Our reality is complicated." Gwen left, saying she'd head home as soon as possible. "Enjoy, dear. I'll take care of Leon."
Don't worry, she reassured.
Arthur watched her leave and muttered, "I know. I don't have her contact info, but then again I never gave her mine either." He sighed, thinking about the law firm. It was the firm that ended up getting in contact with Kerr. Huh? Arthur hesitated, wondering if it was odd to ask her about it suddenly. "Is it necessary? We made an agreement, right?" He grumbled under his breath. "I hate working." At that moment, Carol arrived with a warm smile. "Girlie, I missed you." Gwen greeted her with a hug, but Carol quickly noticed. "Huh? What do you mean I can't visit the house you're staying in?" Gwen explained. "Well, he sent someone to look after me and Leon." Carol scoffed. "That sly man. He definitely planned this all to work against you." Gwen, though, spoke more calmly. "Well, Nana does take good care of Leon. Actually, I've learned a lot from her in a short time. And Mr. Moranti really seems to be doing his best for us." Carol's tone grew firm. "What happened to your fighting spirit? Don't be seduced by these things. They're just trying to make you let your guard down." Gwen sighed. "Yeah, I guess you're right." Carol looked her in the eye. "Promise me you'll fight for Leon. I'll also do my best. I've been with you both from the start, and I'd never be able to face Uncle if something were to happen to you too." Gwen nodded gratefully. "Thank you." Carol, her resolve firm, said, "Let's go." It's almost time to meet our saviors. Gwen, slightly nervous, asked, "Are you sure we're in the right place?" "I don't think I have enough money to hire someone from a place like this," Carol assured her. "I'm positive this is the address he gave me." As they arrived at the office, Gwen grew increasingly anxious. A high-class law firm. Even the clients look so posh. She muttered under her breath, "I really don't think we're in the right tax bracket to afford these people." Carol tried to comfort her. "I guess we'll just wait for our turn." A man approached them. "I can help you carry these," he offered. Gwen was taken aback. "Really?" He smiled. "My office is nearby." "Are you a client?" Gwen nodded. "Yes, I was actually waiting for my friend." He led her to his office. "Welcome to my office. Please go ahead inside." Gwen hesitated. "No, I'll just leave these here. Take care." But the man paused. "Wait, at least your name?" Gwen looked at him, unsure of what was happening. As they spoke, her thoughts were consumed by the legal situation she found herself in. She didn't understand everything, but she knew it was crucial. Later, in the office, Lance greeted her. "Welcome to the Leg Law Firm. I'm Gail Holt from England, and this is my business partner, Lance Tanaka." Gwen, confused but trying to focus, asked, "What happened to you?" "Dress properly." Gail laughed. "Had to pull an all-nighter again." "Sorry about that." Lance, smiling, said, "We don't mind. Plus, we're already acquainted with Lance, right, Gwen?" Gwen nodded. "Right." Lance smiled wider. "So, what brings you in today, my beautiful Miss Gwen?" Gwen quickly got to the point. "We're here to discuss our situation." She explained the legal troubles they were facing. Gail frowned. "This is unacceptable. We should definitely file for a petition." "Right, Lance?" Lance, thoughtful, nodded. Gwen couldn't help but feel uncertain. His own legal team includes that old man. She pondered the situation. "Do I really trust him with Leon's fate?" Lance reassured Gwen. "You don't have to worry. We're among the top law firms in the country right now. Even though we've only recently opened, our Lance here is one of the best rookies. He even scored top 1 in the 20XX bar exams." Lance immediately interjected, "Stop overpraising me." Gwen smiled at the compliment, her mood lightening.
Wow.
"That's impressive," she remarked. "But honestly, Sem is way cooler." Lance chuckled, then shifted the topic. "And that concludes today's discussion. Just for you, Miss Gwen, here's my personal contact info." Gwen rolled her eyes. "Can you stop being a creep for even a second?" Lance grinned. "How about I give you mine, too?" Gwen hesitated but nodded. "Sure." Lance then asked, "Are you free after this?" Gwen thought for a moment, replying, "I am, but I need to head home soon." Lance reassured her, "I promise it won't take long." "Sorry about Gail," he continued, "but he really is a great attorney and business partner. Warn Carol not to take him seriously." Gwen looked at him curiously. "Sorry about that too, I guess. It was me who asked Carol to keep it from you." Gwen shrugged, not bothered. "It's no big deal." Lance's tone shifted as he asked, "I know this is a sensitive topic, but why did you agree to that guy's terms? It sounds like he's doing this just to have everything go his way." Gwen sighed. "That guy, always demanding things without thinking. Always asking for the impossible. I told him I was more than fine raising Leon on my own. I don't understand why he's doing this when it would have been easier for both of us if he'd just stayed out of our lives." She paused, then added, "With his status, I mean, why now? A one-night stand turning into a difficult situation. Huh?" Lance, understanding, leaned back in his chair. "It's a bit weird, but sometimes he has redeeming moments." Gwen hesitated, her voice quieter. "You looked a little happy talking about him just now." She quickly added, "Well, I'm at fault too. It wouldn't have been a one-night stand if I hadn't made it one. Plus, I keep agreeing to things too easily." Lance offered a sympathetic smile. Sorry. Didn't mean to bore you with my ramblings." "Not at all," Gwen replied, grateful. "Even though I was surprised you're handling my case, I'm relieved it's with someone I can trust." Lance's face lit up. "Really?" Gwen nodded.
Yes.
Mr. Holt agreed to expand his firm throughout the country? Lance confirmed. Yes. Gwen pondered for a moment before speaking up. So this leaves me with two options: career advancement or staying with the person I like. Coming from a poor family, I can't help but think this is my lucky break. She sighed, then looked up at Lance, her expression softening. I'm sorry, Gwen. I shouldn't have ditched you in the middle of our date. Gwen smiled warmly.
What are you talking about?
I'm proud of you. You always dreamed of having your own law firm, right? There's no use worrying about the past anyway. What's done is done. Lance took a deep breath, reassured by her words. You're right. Gwen glanced at the time. Sorry to cut our time short, but I really need to get back to Leon. Lance nodded understandingly. Please, feel free to contact me for anything. Gwen stood, giving him a small smile.
Got it.
See you. As she walked away, she reflected the past. Huh? Then what about now? Maybe, just maybe. But her thoughts were interrupted as Lance called out. Gwen. I said listen. Lance's voice echoed through the phone.
Gwen.
Hey, Gwen, are you home yet? Gwen, now at home, let out a sigh. Sorry for going with Mr. Holt like that. Her friend responded. Well, you couldn't take your eyes off him. How did it go? Gwen chuckled. It was a disaster. He's way too flirty. Her friend laughed.
I see.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you about Lance being involved. Gwen waved it off, feeling reassured. It's all right. Actually, I'm more confident knowing it's him handling my case. Did it go well with him? Her friend asked. Gwen paused. I guess. Her friend squealed. Really? I'm almost home. I'll tell you more about it next time we meet. All right, talk to you later, her friend said before hanging up. Gwen entered her house and was greeted by Nana. Welcome home, Miss Gwen, Nana said with a smile. My baby, have you been good today? Gwen responded with a warm smile. By the way, Artie may not be able to come tonight. It can't be helped, I suppose, Nana replied. Gwen nodded. Thank you for today as well, Nana. I'm off then. She turned to Leon, her son. It's been a while since it's been just the two of us. Want to take a bath? Gwen lovingly continued. Hey, Leon, Mama met with some awesome people. You won't be taken away from me. I love you, my baby. Suddenly, her phone rang. Yes, hello? Sorry for calling you so late. Is now a good time? The voice on the other end asked. Is the caretaker you mentioned still available? Gwen looked around. It's just me and Leon here right now. She then hesitated. I want to apologize for earlier. Does that fall under the law you mentioned for Mr. Gale, about invading a person's space?
The voice laughed.
I'm just kidding. She's laughing. Gwen frowned. Then the conversation shifted. Right, it's about Arthur Moranti. We might need more information about him. Okay, the voice responded. It's been 3 days since his last visit. He must be really busy with work, huh? Gwen felt the weight of the situation. I'm sorry. I was informed Artie wouldn't be able to make it here today either. Her friend added, she's been asking a lot about Artie these days. Has the time finally come for you, Artie? Lance, standing nearby, interrupted. Miss Gwen, I think you've forgotten something. Gwen blinked.
What?
You don't have Arthur's contact info, do you? She paused, realizing the truth. I guess I never figured I'd really need it. Lance observed her more seriously now. You're starting to look more grim than usual. Why don't you take a break? Gwen shook her head. No can do. I need to meet the property owners soon. I really need to make this deal work this time. She sighed, her thoughts drifting. My late father worked so hard to make this housing project a reality. Lance, sensing her fatigue, offered. Still, don't overwork yourself. I'll grab some coffee. You want a usuals? Yeah, thanks, Gwen replied. As she moved through the house, Gwen noticed that Nana had been mending some old clothes for Leon. I see. You noticed too, Nana? Gwen asked. Nana replied, yes, I noticed. Yet you're not doing anything? Gwen felt frustrated. I've been rejected by her multiple times now. Nana shook her head. What did you expect? You've been really horrible. I'm sorry, Gwen muttered, feeling the weight of their conversation. Is it really that hard to ask them to live here with you? I'll ask the next time I'm over there, Gwen said, but she seemed resigned. Going in and out of there is hard for me. And it's no easier on you. Nana's voice softened, but her words were firm. Just remember to do things the right way, Artie. Or it might come back and bite you. Gwen stood in the hallway, her anxiety rising as she spoke to herself. Should I tell her that you're not coming tomorrow either? She thought for a moment, remembering that even Nana had Arthur's contact information. I wonder what they're up to. I want to visit them soon. Gwen turned to Gareth, who was about to leave. I'll be going, madam. Best of luck. Thank you, Gareth, Gwen replied, before noticing a small item. Already forgot this here, but I think it would be best if you could take it to him instead. Don't worry, I'll take care of little Leon as usual, Gareth reassured her. Plus, this is a perfect opportunity to gather information about Arthur. Gwen hesitated, the thought of returning causing her anxiety. But coming back here, it raises my anxiety. As Gwen gathered her thoughts, she was interrupted by a polite voice. Excuse me, is Mr. Arthur Moranti here? The receptionist looked up. Yes, do you have an appointment with him? May I have your name, please? I am Gwen Zalameda. The receptionist checked the schedule. Unfortunately, I don't see you on the schedule. Can I ask what you need with Mr. Moranti? Gwen hesitated, then decided to press on. I should probably call Nana, but I will only need to hand this over to him real quick. As she waited, someone stepped into the room, eyes wide. I can't believe I've gotten to meet you again. And here, of all places.
Gwen frowned, confused.
Exactly where have we met before? The man grinned. Well, we didn't formally meet, but I was on the cruise a few years ago, too. I'm Percy, by the way. Gwen suddenly realized who he was. So, he's the friend Arthur's always referring to?
Percy nodded, then laughed.
At that time, that guy kept saying he wasn't interested in anyone. And then he approached you all on his own. He smiled mischievously. The reason I remember you is because Arthur was looking in your direction the whole time, you know? Gwen blinked, surprised. Has he really been telling the truth about that night then? Percy lowered his voice.
Don't tell him I told you about this.
That rascal Arthur, he didn't tell me anything about this, and I'm supposed to be his best friend. An idea sparked in Percy's eyes. I have an idea. I know. Gwen, why don't we surprise Arthur's? Gwen, unsure, asked, wait, why? What for? Percy grinned. Hide here in my office first, and then… Before he could finish, the door slammed open. Hey, what took you so long just to get some coffee? Arthur's voice boomed. What the hell did I tell you about barging into my office? Percy looked alarmed.
Ack.
He's coming this way. Gwen, save me from this monster. Arthur glared at them both. Stop acting like you're familiar with her. Percy chuckled. We bonded over some things just now. Right, Gwen? Right? Arthur's eyes narrowed. Haha, look, he's super jealous. So funny.
Percy laughed.
The day has finally come where we shall sever our ties. Arthur rolled his eyes. Dude, come on. I'm just joking around. Please forgive me. I have bills to pay, and my little princess. He turned to leave. Let's go. Percy quickly handed Gwen a coffee.
Your coffee.
Arthur turned to her, puzzled. What brings you here so suddenly? Gwen handed him the item she had brought. I was told you forgot this, so… Arthur looked at the item with a smile. Nana, you're the best. Percy grinned. I'll bring you an offering the next time I see you. Gwen smiled, feeling a sense of relief. What are you doing?
Percy gave a cheeky grin.
Recharging. Arthur, watching from a distance, added, I missed you. Arthur looked at Gwen, his gaze serious. What are you doing? Recharging, she replied quietly. I missed you, Arthur muttered, his tone shifting. And don't talk to strangers. Gwen raised an eyebrow, responding coolly. You're one to talk. It really would be best for you to stay away from him. He's trouble. Arthur rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. Just then, a call interrupted them. Yes, hello? Arthur answered. Yeah, he's here with me. That's all? Thank you very much for earlier. Yes, goodbye, then. Percy chimed in from the doorway. Percy says you forgot to take your coffee. Gwen immediately refused. I don't want that coffee anymore. Arthur frowned at her. Don't make that face. Nana mentioned that this is important. Reluctantly, Gwen took the coffee. Thanks. Arthur turned his attention to the room around them. What's with him? I'll be going then, Gwen said, preparing to leave. Arthur looked surprised. Already? I'd rather not be reminded of how this all started, Gwen muttered, discomfort clear in her voice. How about we go somewhere for a bit? Arthur seemed puzzled. Isn't it a waste coming all the way here just to leave so soon?
No.
I'll be taking my leave now, Gwen replied firmly. Sorry, Lance, she added quietly. I'll try to get information on him next time. Arthur sighed in frustration. Why are you still following me?
Why not?
Gwen shrugged. I'll see you out. Arthur's voice grew tense. Look, I don't want people to misunderstand our relationship. I don't want to cause any more trouble, Gwen responded, her tone apologetic. That's not. Before she could finish, Arthur's frustration was evident. Isn't that why you're? Just then, they noticed someone had gone missing. Where is he when you need him? Hiding me and Leon's. Arthur's expression softened slightly. This way. He must have gone outside for a break. He's been working overtime for days now. They both shared a look of concern. Are we sure we should leave this matter to Arthur? The land is important to the late president, Gwen said thoughtfully. He came out of nowhere and treats this job like his personal playground. Arthur nodded. We're running out of time, and I don't trust him to close this deal properly. They turned their focus to the task at hand. Once the sellers arrive, do your best to negotiate before he gets the chance. Gwen looked at Arthur with a bit of admiration. I was also under the impression he was too carefree, but he seems different at work. Arthur chuckled.
Ah, shucks.
I wish you didn't have to hear all that. Still, nice save right there by Percy. Well, I'm going now. Take it easy. You still on your break? Gwen asked, raising an eyebrow. Arthur smiled. This is new. I never thought you'd be the one inviting me out. I never thought you were actually busy, she replied teasingly. Of course I am. Arthur grinned. I am a man contributing to society.
Gwen laughed.
Sure, well, you always look like you're fooling around. Arthur chuckled. Oh, but I don't think I feel that way anymore. You were pretty serious today. Yeah, it's cool, Arthur replied. To be honest, I hate working. Gwen looked at him, intrigued. I figured you must have had some lofty goals for yourself with the way you've been working lately. Arthur smiled, brushing off the comment. Haha, you think too highly of me. I don't have anything like that. This company was passed down to me when my father passed away. Gwen's expression softened. I see. Shouldn't you try to look more, sad? Arthur gave a small laugh. My real dream is actually fairly normal. Gwen was curious. And what might that be? Arthur's voice became quieter, almost shy. Meeting a special someone, going on dates, falling in love with her falling in love with me, having a family, or something like that. Gwen blinked, surprised. It was a simple dream, but it made her wonder if he had more depth than she'd initially thought. Arthur chuckled awkwardly. That's pretty boring, right? Gwen shook her head. No, I think it's romantic. Arthur blushed slightly, his uncertainty clear. What should I do? Gwen softened her gaze, reminiscing. Even way back then, I just enjoyed being around you. Arthur smirked. And you even back then you still... He teasingly reached for her personal space, but Gwen quickly pushed him away. Have no sense of personal space, huh? Arthur laughed, unbothered by her reaction. But really, thank you for giving me this break. I feel better already. Gwen raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Arthur leaned back, looking at her with a sly grin. I mean, you invited me because you were worried about that talk about me earlier, right? Gwen flushed, caught off guard. Come on. No need to be shy about it. He chuckled. I am not. I said I'm not. Arthur sighed deeply, his voice growing more serious. You've probably already guessed, but there's a lot of stuff going on with my family. Honestly, it's a pain in the butt. He looked at Gwen apologetically. I'm sorry for not being able to visit for a few days now. Seeing that she was already feeling better, he stood to leave. I'm going since you're feeling better already. Gwen hesitated. It's still early. You can stay for a while, and then… But Arthur cut her off with a half smile. Even though you're super busy, at least do try to visit sometimes. I mean, what's the use of our agreement if you're just going to waste precious days in a stuffy office? Gwen's eyes narrowed, but she kept her tone light. Don't forget, I'm still evaluating your capability to be a good father to Leon. That's all. Arthur raised his hands in mock surrender. I'm going home for real.
Kiki?
Thanks for checking me out, Gwen. Gwen rolled her eyes, flustered. I wasn't. Well, I'll see you out, Arthur added. No need, Gwen replied, her voice firm. Arthur called after her. Gwen, what is it this time? She asked, turning back. Number, please, Arthur said with a grin. I'll let you know if I can visit or not. Gwen sighed, reluctantly giving in. Fine. He raised an eyebrow. Can I message you at least 4 times a day? No, please. Only message me when it's important. Arthur's grin widened. Can we consider exchanging pictures of Leon important? Gwen softened, a smile tugging at her lips. Cute. Arthur winked. Just when? She smirked at him. Cute, right? Like his mom. Arthur added, teasing. Gwen rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. This flirt. Arthur's voice grew more sincere. Take care. Gwen huffed, feeling conflicted. I hate how he can say things like that so easily. I don't even know if he's telling the truth or not. Her mind raced. But me, too? She sighed, a strange warmth blooming inside her. Strangely, I also enjoy being around you. But she quickly shook her head, trying to clear the thoughts. Not good. I shouldn't be swayed like this by that flirt. Suddenly, a voice broke her out of her thoughts. Isn't that Gwen? Gwen froze, recognizing the voice. This voice. Where have you been? The voice continued. And where are you running off to now?